All right, welcome to our PDP, Effective Technology Integration. The first slide you have on our virtual field trip is the Great Wall of China. And this is one of the new slides they have available on Nearpod. Nearpod's free. As you can see, you don't have to have an account to sign in, so all your students can get on. You can use your phone, you can use an iPad, you can use a laptop, you can use a desktop. You can use the apps if you want, or you can just use online. You can create presentations and lessons, or you can use the ones they already have pre-created for you. So a lot of options here in Nearpod. So I'll be delivering this content, but I'll also be showing you some features of Nearpod so we can kind of take care of some modeling and passing on some information that the district wants to pass on to you. You can see why I brought the iPads. It's a little bit more interactive with the iPads. If you're on a laptop, it's a little bit more difficult with a mouse, but it is possible. All right, so I have complete control over the lesson from where I am. I'm going to unfreeze this up here so you can get an idea. If you want to look up on the screen, you can, or you can just use your own screen.
We were having so much fun.
Sorry. So I'm going to try to get in 2 hours worth of information in 1 hour, and I'm going to do as many activities as I can. Since I have control over the slides, and if you've entered this room, you should have a question posed to you right now. You can go ahead and answer that question. It's an open answer, so there's nothing to choose. You're stuck in the Great Wall. You can always enter the room at any time. So once you enter the room again, you'll be on the slide that the instructor is on. So what I'll show you on the front screen is my screen. You can see as things come in, you'll be able to see them. It's up to you whether you show your students what's coming in at the same time or not, but I'll do it for you guys.
Just put something in your cold with.
Yep.
Boom.
Lord potato. Why would you don't
There's 10 marks connected. They should put
where is your level there? It's like
PowerPoint. Well, actually, I can teach PowerPoint for one.
All right. So notice on my screen, what I can do is show you some highlights that other people have answered. So I have control over your screens. This person said 10 marks math connected ed. Good job, that's a great use of technology in the classroom. I can unshare it, and then you're back to your normal screen. So it can be a very interactive tool. I'll give you about, I don't know, 10 more seconds to finish what you're writing, and then I'm going to move on. If we have time later, we'll come back to some of these.
Mine just says thank you.
Okay.
But I wasn't telling if you. I didn't know either.
Goes for don't fall far.
Okay, here are the learning targets for our course today. I'm not going to read them to you. I'll give you a minute to read them yourself, though. There are 3 very important tools we're going to introduce that will become part of our self-assessment and eventually part of probably our professional evaluation.
Some more acronyms we have to learn.
Yes, acronyms.
Come on, pay attention to your screen.
And waiting on the network. It's because Roland's near me.
He's got his own device on. Just spews anti-network.
That's a great question.
All the modes really just.
You're a teacher ready to tap students into 21st century learning, but teaching with technology adds a whole new layer of knowledge and expertise. TPAC, or Technological, Pedagogical, Content Knowledge, is a framework that helps teachers consider how their knowledge domains intersect in order to effectively teach and engage students with technology. It's an approach that looks at the combination of what teachers know, how they teach, and the role of technology in order to better impact student learning. So, how does TPAC work? First, consider 3 domains: content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and technological knowledge. Content knowledge, CK, is the what, your understanding and expertise of the subject area you teach, whether it's science, social studies, math, language arts, or all of the core curricular areas. CK is made up of all the facts, concepts, and theories of any given discipline. Pedagogical knowledge, PK, is the how, your expert knowledge of the art and science of teaching. From learning theories to instructional design, PK includes methods of teaching and assessment, like project-based learning, as well as instructional strategies like think, pair, share. Knowledge of these principles helps you design successful learning experiences for each individual student. Pedagogical content knowledge, or PCK, is the intersection of the pedagogical and content areas, the knowledge you have of how to effectively engage students in learning concepts and skills. This knowledge includes approaches for addressing different learning styles and scaffolding content for deeper understanding. Educational psychologist Lee Schulman saw this intersection as teaching at its best. But several scholars, including Matthew Kohler and Punya Mishra, have added an additional component to 21st century teaching: technological knowledge, or TK. TK represents your knowledge about the tools, including how to select, use, and integrate technology into your curriculum. But it's not just about the devices. It's also the quality of content that students access through apps, websites, and games for learning. By integrating technology into PCK, you now have new insights into and opportunities for student learning. Technological content knowledge, or TCK, refers to how technology is used in a subject area for deep and lasting learning. For instance, to further their understanding of a topic, budding scientists can use sophisticated tools to collect evidence, make observations, and document findings. Interactive software then allows them to see their data represented in various ways. Application of such technologies can help deepen individual students' inquiry within a given discipline. Technological pedagogical knowledge, or TPK, is your understanding of how to choose and manage technology for your students. For instance, what technology will best ease your students' workflow throughout their exploration of the scientific method? How can you use collaboration tools to have students share their learning with each other? This knowledge about technology will advance your teaching. The intersection of all 3 knowledge domains, content, pedagogy, and technology, is the core of TPAC. This center area refers to your understanding of how tools can enhance your teaching and support student learning more deeply and effectively. For example, when learning about water pollution, students could explore 3D models of bacteria's cellular structure, and then create their own animated images to analyze local water sources. They then could share their findings virtually with a prominent field expert. This dynamic interplay of all 3 components is TPAC, the heart of innovative teaching. You can use the TPAC framework to assess your own knowledge of content, pedagogy, and technology. Consider which areas you feel confident about, and which areas you could improve upon. But also think about how you can collaborate with others at your school, or in your professional learning communities, to combine your strengths. For example, you could meet with your technology coordinator to brainstorm ways to redesign learning experiences. And knowing that each student, each teacher, and each classroom differs, the dotted line around the framework symbolizes the context that affects how TPACK is applied in a practical sense. TPACK takes into account that every classroom context is unique due to variations in professional development, school climate, and available resources. In conclusion, TPACK will help you remember to start with your content and pedagogy, and then layer in technology. Sometimes we get excited about a new technology, and then we design a lesson around that particular tool. But in doing so, it's easy to lose sight of goals and objectives for student learning. TPACK reminds us that technology is just part of great teaching. It's truly an intricate combination of content, pedagogy, and technology that make for innovative teaching and learning. So, what does your TPACK look like?
Then how to go back to
All right, so that TPACK model is a model to describe how teachers' understanding of technology and pedagogy and content knowledge interact with each other. So I have a question for you. Looking at that model, do you agree that all circles on this framework should be the same size? Which one do you think should be larger than the others?
Can we go back and look at that?
You can, if you did pick up a worksheet, they're double-sided and it is on the back of one of those.
completely different than what I would have took 5 years ago. Five years ago, I was I said everything is content in it.
Now it's up to you whether you allow the kids to see the poll results coming in. I'm doing it just so you can see what I see on my screen, but of course in a whole group environment it may not be best to have them see what's coming in because it might steer what they're saying. We're just waiting on a few people and then I will share it with you. Just waiting on Minnie Mouse. Alright, well that's close enough. Now when I hit share, what it's going to do is show you the results on your screen. It won't have names, per se, but it does show a breakdown of the data. So where do we agree and disagree? Anybody want to argue their point? No? Okay. Well, what you need to take away from this graphic and this model is that they interact with each other. What we're trying to hit is that sweet spot in the middle of the TPACK model. But we understand that there are drivers and restrainers that influence the success of it. So what are some things that affect, what are some variables that affect getting to the sweet spot of that model? What are some things on the outside that they talked about in the video? Things that may affect what you know in content knowledge or pedagogy or in technology. Yes. Golfer lady? Oh, golfer lady. Very nice. I agree.
Golfers usually do after go for
That's not
All right, so this is something I want to point out, and this is what went through my mind when I was getting training on this, was the access to technology. And I see this as a reoccurring theme in some of your answers here. And they didn't seem to have an issue with availability of technology when I did my training. I don't know if it's because they had a plan for the rollout in the future, or if they just never considered it. But so me coming into this year and knowing where the district was going, that was at the forefront of my mind, was how are we going to get the technology out to everybody? And now that everyone knows kind of where we've been going and where I've been heading, you can understand why I've had a focus on making sure everyone has technology available to people who need it. So I agree, access to technology can mediate, can restrain getting to this sweet spot in the middle of that TPAC framework. Here are some other drivers or restrainers: teacher training, experience, resources, attitude. You can imagine there's a plethora of different things on the outer ring of this model. Will this model be on your evaluation? No, it's a self-assessment tool. Again, you're trying to hit that sweet spot in the middle of the model. We'll be talking about this more as we move through Compass to 2020. All right, we got another video for you. This video is about a new model. It's called the SAM-R model, and I think this is the most important part of this presentation, and it's the most important part of where the technologies, where the district is heading with effective use of technology.
Can you stream the videos to us also?
Every day,
You can stream them to the iPads, but then you'll have individual sound going. So if they have headphones, it's perfect. You can have them muted. It gets a little disruptive. So I like doing that slide where it says eyes on the front of the screen and then everybody's focused on one. You can do it though.
teachers are designing activities to target higher order thinking skills in order to engage students in rich learning experiences. But integrating technology adds a whole new layer to teaching and learning. How can technology transform your learning design? Dr. Ruben Puentedura developed the SAMR model as a way for teachers to evaluate how they are incorporating technology into their instructional practice. You can use SAMR to reflect upon how you are integrating technology into your classroom. Is it an act of substitution, augmentation, modification, or redefinition? Dr. Puentedura likens his model to moving up a ladder. The model includes a dotted line that represents the threshold where you shift from using technology to enhance learning to using it to transform learning. Transforming learning promotes higher order thinking skills, such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating, which are essential to Common Core state standards in 21st century learning. So, how can you teach above the line? Let's take a look at an example of a classroom task and how it evolves through the lens of SAMR. In substitution, technology acts as a direct tool substitute with no real functional change to the task. For example, take creative writing. What if you had students write a story using a word processing program? In this case, students are substituting a handwritten story for a typed story. The task is the same with no real change in student engagement. In augmentation, technology still substitutes, but with some functional improvement. What if you took the same creative writing assignment and had students use a word processing program? They could use features such as spell check and tools for formatting. Again, the story writing task is the same, but the technology augments it with enhanced productivity. In modification, Technology should allow for significant task redesign. Take the same creative writing assignment and have students use Google Docs to write their stories. Students can then share these stories with peers and provide real-time feedback. Here, technology has significantly modified the original task by introducing the benefits of student collaboration. At the top stage, redefinition, technology allows for the creation of entirely new tasks that were previously inconceivable. What if students transform their written stories into multimedia productions? After creating storyboards, students film scenes, edit clips, and add music. They can publish the videos and receive feedback from voices across the globe. In this case, technology redefines the story writing task to include media creation, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So, how can you use SAMR to reflect upon transforming your learning design? Quintadora offers reflection questions to help you move up the SAMR ladder and shift how you are designing learning experiences. For instance, ask yourself, what will I gain by replacing the older technology with the new technology? Have I added an improvement to the task process that could not be accomplished with the older technology at a fundamental level? Does this modification fundamentally depend upon the new technology? How is the new task uniquely made possible by the new technology? These are just a few of the questions you can ask yourself as you evaluate the design of a classroom task, and consider that not all technology integration is created equal. Ultimately, SAMR can help you evaluate your use of technology and design tasks that target higher order thinking skills, engage students in rich learning experiences, and impact student achievement.
So when I saw this, it kind of opened my eyes to breaking down what everyone has always said as integrating technology. It provides some measure of the integration of the technology. And I warn you, if you do Google or YouTube this guy, Dr. Ruben R. Quintadora, he looks like a hippie you found in a rainforest. He's real laid back, he's hard Brazilian accent. Very interesting guy, but hard to understand. Brazilian hippie. Okay. So when we're taking a look at this model, and like I said, I think this is the most important takeaway from this and from where the district's going. If we're, oh wait, hey, I'm gonna unfreeze that. Okay, so if we're looking at the ladder, and this is on one of your worksheets, and I highly suggest you pin this up somewhere in your room. If you're on OneNote, I can send this to you electronically. Or even if you're not on OneNote, I can still send this to you electronically. Or you can Google it. Let's take a look at these steps. A lot of people refer to this as a ladder. And you can see that midpoint in the ladder. Learning activities on the lower part of the ladder, like substitution and augmentation. It's when you're using technology to accomplish traditional tasks and enhance learning. These lessons enhance learning, but the learning gain for students is the same with or without the technology. So it's a good use, but what we're trying to strive for is higher up in that ladder at the modification and redefinition levels. And that's when technology is used to transform learning and embrace opportunities that are not possible without the technology. Teaching above the line is something to strive for, but there are many contributing factors, as you saw with the TPAC model. There's a lot of stuff around the outside. So we want to try to get up there toward the redefinition level as much as we can, but we're not there all the time with all the activities. So these are questions you might ask yourself to try to figure out what level you are at with the lesson. Go ahead and read over those questions. When I first saw that video, the beginning one talked about substitution when using the word processing device. And I thought using the word processing device was somewhere higher up the ladder, but it depends on how you use the technology. You saw you gain one level by just having them spell check, and then another level by adding another thing. So as we're using the technology, we need to be analyzing how we're using it, evaluating, and figuring out how to move higher up toward redefinition. So let's talk about an example, okay? Let's say that students are exploring maps and atlases to better understand connections between geography and economy in ancient Egypt. So in the past, students would look at a map in the atlas in the back of the textbook. But now they're going to try to use Google Earth to do the same thing. So at what level is using Google Earth to look up information on the geography of ancient Egypt?
I'd say a modification.
It's probably lower on that ladder, right? It's lower toward the substitution. If you had them do something and augment it somehow, you could get up there. But just merely substituting Google Earth and Google Maps for an atlas doesn't get you high up in that continuum. It's great use of technology in the classroom, but there are ways we can move up higher and transcend what the map could do just by itself. I'm showing you this because this will be used in one of the examples we have coming up. But this is the KWL for the 21st century. It did get bigger. Yes. It's kind of on steroids.
KWL.
No. When you read over this, the LAQ, it seems to ask the same sort of questions that we've been asking ourselves in the PLCs. Stuff that Rick DeFore has talked about in a lot of his books. What have we learned? What action will I take? What further questions will I have? Okay, so here's an activity. This is a drawing activity. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is draw a line from the step on the left to the activity on the right. It's not as easy as you think. Are you able to draw on there? No. Did I might have picked the wrong slide. I don't see your draw tools up. I probably picked the wrong slide. Well, in your mind, envision drawing lines. Okay?
You put the wrong
We're
slide.
going to redefine this by using your imagination.
I was doing the same. I was looking around.
But there are draw slides where you can have them draw stuff and show it up.
These two. That's how you do it.
When I did an activity similar to this, I was shocked at how difficult it was because I thought they were all fantastic, and they are fantastic, but some are at different levels than others. So what do you notice with all of these 4 lessons?
Please research and share what you found out.
What else?
You're sharing your findings.
Uh-huh. They're all best practices, right? I mean, these are lessons that any of us would have in our classroom. It's just a matter of how far you take it up the ladder.